everybody. Merry Christmas and welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are here to talk about this weekend's movies. There's 4 movies that we're going to cover. I know we've been kind of dividing things up, but this week we are talking about all 4, and it's going to be super fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Mary Richards is here.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, good. I actually finished one just an hour ago, so that one's fresh in my mind.
Oh, good.
But I watched them all in
Yeah.
the weekend, and
Yeah.
super fun. Getting
Have
excited.
how do you feel that Hallmark I don't know how many you've been able to watch. How do you feel like their season's been?
I've gotten most of them, and I feel like it's kind of mixed. Each weekend is mixed. There's one where you're like
Yeah.
meh on, and then there's another one where you're like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would say as a whole, there haven't been that many that I'm like, I hate this movie. Most of
Yeah.
them are just like, that's fine. And then not that many that I've like loved,
Yes.
but it's been fine.
Yeah,
That's what I can say about
it is
it.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody texted me, tell me what movies I should watch this year. And I'm like, the current ones, or can we go back historically? There are some,
Right.
I was like, there's some fun ones, but there's also some really good ones historically. But
Yeah.
I bet don't they usually get better and better? Like they save like some heavy hitters for Thanksgiving and then it moves
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah. It's
So,
true. It's true. They do usually save some ones for good ones for Thanksgiving week. We just did Terry and I did a ranking of the movies to air on Thanksgiving. So
oh,
that was a lot of fun to kind of look back and see what it played, because there's a pretty eclectic group. There's even some animated films, there's some other things in there. So that was fun. But yeah, they're usually a pretty good, pick for especially Thanksgiving Day. So yeah. Well, let's dive in. We got a lot to cover here. So the first one is A World Record Christmas. And this was our Movies and Mysteries, Miracles of Christmas entry. And it stars Nikki DeLoach, Lucas Bryant, and it's Charlie is an autistic boy determined to set a Guinness World Record by stacking 1,400 Jenga blocks. His mother, Marissa, and stepfather, Eric, encourage him to reach for his dream, and they all celebrate when he gets the good news that he'll have his chance on Christmas Eve. In the spirit of the holiday, they organize a fundraiser, giving the townspeople an opportunity to donate and decorate a Jenga block, with the proceeds going to benefit kids with autism. Charlie's journey to setting the Jenga world record gives them all the chance to learn more, and not just about themselves, but about what family really means. Sorry, it was worded kind of weird. But overall, what did you think of this one?
overall, um, by the end, I liked it. In the
Yeah.
beginning, I wasn't sure. I
Mhm.
I have some close family members with autism, and so seeing this young man depicted on the screen, I had mixed feelings because I loved that this was a character and this was based on real events and
Yeah.
showing this family. I loved all of that, and I thought about these loved ones of my own, and yeah, anyway, it took a while for the movie to get going for me
Mhm.
because I just wanted to get right into the heart of it and see this adventure that they were having. And but by the end I was like, this was so sweet, and it paid off for me by the end.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much agree. In the end, it was a sweet movie. I'd watch it again. It was lovingly told, and a nice story. I do think they laid it on a little thick. I don't know that we needed to have the real dad kind of plot
Yes.
line. I
Yes.
mean, as soon as he put out that chair for his
Ugh.
real dad, you knew immediately, obviously. I mean, and it doesn't matter if you can predict these movies, of course you can, but it just felt like, okay, this movie is already really emotionally manipulative. Do we need to add that
Extra layer
extra
of
layer of
exactly.
like of the whole he's abandoned by his father?
Yeah, when he's
Uh,
been raised by Eric since he was little, the picture,
yeah,
I mean, that I agree totally. The other thing too that felt too much was this marital kind of tension for them. And are we in a
yeah,
rut and all that? Like, can't we just
yeah.
have a supportive, happy married couple here?
Also, it was like sort of weird that they were like, we're in this really weird space when they're like going on. They have like a whole date scene. They
Yeah.
have like scenes where they're decorating, scenes where they're doing stuff. and it was just like, this is not the depiction of a loveless marriage,
Hmm.
or a marriage in crisis. And we talked to on the red carpet at Christmas Con, we talked to Nikki DeLoach for a couple of years now about her wanting to do more comedies. She
Oh,
wants to do comedies.
so good at comedy.
She even told us that she's writing comedies. So she's trying to get comedies. And she's been in so many of these like marriage and crisis kind of movies now at this point, that's becoming a little bit like the first it was like, oh, that's so refreshing, it's something different, and now it's like, okay, it feels played out, it feels like,
Yes.
okay, especially for her. And it wasn't needed to have that element, and it was just like, didn't you just go on a date? Didn't you just have
Hmm.
date night?
I
What?
know, and you were excited, and were they trying to like have this relationship conflict that you would see in a dating couple?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, does he like me? Does he not? I'm excited to go on a date.
Yeah.
How about you just have a loving, supportive married couple who are, and let the focus be on this boy and his life and his efforts
Yeah.
to set this world record. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do appreciate that I didn't feel like they sort of steeped his autism in trauma. A
Yeah.
lot of times in these movies like this or TV shows or whatever, it's like the odd, and I'm not saying it's not difficult when your child gets an autism diagnosis. That's not what I'm saying. But like the way it's sometimes portrayed is if it's like they might as well be dead. Like it's
Yes.
like the just this horror thing. Whereas like it was definitely a challenge. It was definitely, a hard thing to, that they had to consider and work around, and but it was never that heavy, that
Yes.
sometimes I feel like autism is portrayed.
Yes. You remember Parenthood? Did you ever used to watch that years ago?
Uh-huh.
The main
Yeah.
couple had the
Oh
son,
yeah.
Max, I think, and he was diagnosed with autism, and it was like
Yeah.
this big, scary, what do we do?
Yeah.
This movie really did a great job of that balance of having a label to understand, but also not being defined by a label.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, one of the hard things about autism, as far as portraying it in film, is that and shows is that there's such a spectrum. They're really, I mean, they have
yes.
are you on the spectrum? They have the whole spectrum. There, it really is true that there is a huge spectrum. I mean,
Hmm.
some people, I think it would be incredibly difficult to have a nonverbal child, like something
Yes.
like that, like on the spectrum. That would be extremely tough. But and then you have people like Charlie, or even people even more functioning than he. Like there's just this huge spectrum, so it makes it hard to kind of portray and to
Hmm.
do it in a way that feels authentic, because everybody's
It might not
authenticity
match.
is
Yes.
different, and
Yes.
but I just appreciated that I didn't feel like it was sort of steeped in sort of drama.
Exactly. And I loved their trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
They, he wanted to set a record. They didn't know what it was, but they're like, let's figure this out. We're in this together. And um exactly. This was and that's where also this whole birth dad thing, he did not look good, right? When he didn't know, oh, how long have we seen? Who is Charlie? I'm like, your son? So that didn't
Yeah.
look good. Maybe I don't like it because I didn't like that itself. It was blatantly bad. It was blatantly wrong. But then what did you think when, and are we spoiling this for those, with the whole chair, and then what happens there at the end with
It was very sweet. I mean,
yeah,
even though it
yeah,
was, like I said, laying it on a little thick, it was
yeah,
hard not to sort of feel for it once it finally you got the payoff that you knew was coming.
right.
I mean, and especially I thought that Lucas did a great job of just you could see how much it meant to him
Yes.
to get to be asked to sit in the chair, and
A
and
real dad,
the
because he's
real dad.
raised him, and he wants
Hmm.
another baby. Oh my goodness. I was like, give him
Yeah.
so many more babies.
Yeah.
He would be
It's
such
cute.
a cute. He is a wonderful supportive father.
Hmm.
More babies
Yeah.
for them.
And it was nice that they had this whole thing with the record setting and everything, and then when it doesn't work out, that there's sort of the second try. That was effective and very
Yeah,
sweet.
it was.
And I always like seeing Alison Wanzura in these movies. She was the record judge.
Oh yeah,
She's always good. And
great presence.
yeah, I don't think that we needed the whole like teen romance element. Like what
Yeah, can we
had
just
just
have
been
that be a
friends.
friendship thing?
Yeah, yeah,
And a good example for teenagers and how to treat their peers and how to be a
yeah.
good friend.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
don't think that needed to be because my son's at that age. Now, granted, my sons aren't neurodivergent or anything, so I can't judge, but I think they're just like girls are still gross to them.
mhm.
Like, ew, I wouldn't want to, but
Right.
but a friendship, a
Right.
good friend, they would love that.
Yeah, because he gives Amy a necklace and he's like, let's not go making all this weird, Amy says. And then, so then the dad says, you made yourself vulnerable, and that's a good thing. If your heart's not open, good things can't fit in. But I don't know. I just feel like,
Is a little
what are
too.
relationships when you're a teenager
Yeah.
anyway?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Just
So
practice a little. I tell
it's
my
just something. I guess if it were me and I was that parent, I would be like, you really don't need to worry about any of
nope.
that right now. It
That's
doesn't
what I tell my
matter.
boys.
Yeah.
I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. I'm like, boys, just learn how to talk to girls and be nice, but you don't
Right.
need to be going on one-on-one dates. You do not need to have a girlfriend. Go
No.
in a group, learn how to ask a girl out on a date, but you're not needing to be partnering up with anybody right now.
Yeah. Like if something happens just authentically, then you deal with
Yeah,
it and what are
yeah,
we gonna do?
that's
But
true.
like you don't need to be it
Pushing it.
doesn't need to be this like conflict.
No.
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, I did think it was pretty amazing that they were able to get all of those on one
Oh,
Jenga.
yes. That was amazing. We've
I'm
got
like,
Jenga
how
blocks
does
all over
that
my
work?
house. Yeah, I'm thinking that's really good. So
Yeah.
love the
No, it's
product placement. It is what it was about. It was about Jenga blocks. I was
yeah.
okay with this product placement in this movie.
Well, we're talking more about product placement
Yes.
coming up. Uh,
This one I was okay with. It's the subject.
yeah. So then, yeah, we find out that, yeah, it's the whole subject of what are they going to call them? Like wooden blocks? That would make no
Yeah.
sense.
Oh.
And then she says that she's pregnant, and then that's when Eric gets to sit in the real dad seat, and you are my real boy, which was, I
Yeah.
thought, a bit of a missed opportunity to make a Pinocchio joke.
No.
Because
No.
that would have been funny.
Just do
Not
that.
Pinocchio, Dad. That's
I'm
what
a
I
real
would
boy.
have said. But yeah. And then the town does break the record for wrapping presents.
Yeah. Which I kept
Yeah,
thinking, I'm just a mom. I'm thinking of the cleanup. I'm like, where are all those
yeah,
going to
yeah.
go?
And then I think his dad was actually there, like in the
It
background.
was.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And Charlie's eyes were closed. He's
yeah,
hugging Eric because I was like, oh, he did not just show up. But then he's
yeah.
not even going to come up and say anything.
Bad.
That was a
He's a
bit.
villain, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's always the
A
villain in every show.
villain. Yeah,
So
forget
yeah,
what
that
actor
was
that is. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
I gotta look him up because I've seen him before as the villain, and
Oh, it
sometimes
was Matt Hamilton, who I love.
yes,
That's right. I
I really do
forgot.
like him. He's and so for personally, I was like, okay, good. He's not that bad of a guy. He did show up. Right. So thank you, Matt Hamilton.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
any,
They probably could have done a little bit more expectation management as far as like, 'cause she kept saying over and over again, I'm going to make my
yeah,
dad proud. I'm going to make my dad proud.
yeah,
Risky.
yeah.
That was like a theme this weekend. We'll talk about it next, but
Yes,
a lot of movies about trying to make parents
yes,
proud.
yes, for sure.
I
Lot
mean,
of divorce in these movies,
yeah. I
broken
mean, it's
families,
just
and
tricky to place your happiness in other people's hands in things
yes.
you have absolutely no control over.
Let's
That
do a
you,
therapy session here, Rachel, because that's
yeah,
exactly correct. You have your circle of control and the other
yeah,
things outside of it.
right. Yeah, you have absolutely no control over how people are going to behave in life,
With
and
their
and so you
choices and
just
their
have to try your best to love people.
I
And that's
know.
it. That's all you
I
can do.
know. I know. Got
But
it.
yep, and so then we get the coda, the year ahead, and there's the baby,
Also a theme
and
this weekend. A
yeah,
year
yeah,
later.
that's
There's a
true.
baby.
There really was. And then Amy and Charlie are holding hands. So I guess all their love worked out.
Yeah. I guess
I
so. And he
guess.
got more Jenga blocks for Christmas, I noticed, on the coffee
Right.
table.
Yeah,
So,
because he said that there's 50 in one set and that there's 1,400 to break the record. That's a
yeah.
lot of Jenga
Yeah.
sets. That's a
I know.
lot.
And they come in different colors. We got a new set from friends that has like animals on it, which was a cute little twist in the game. So you can
Yeah.
only, so yeah, so there's plenty of options. But yeah, it's always good to see an epilogue when they've set up this big thing. It will this happen or will this not happen in the movie? And you just kind of want to
Mhm.
get that resolved. So yes, they had the baby
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he and the friend. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'd probably give this one like a 3.25 or 3.5, something like that. It was cute. I liked it, but nah, it just laid on a little thick for me.
Yeah, I think I'm at a 3.5. I mean,
Mhm.
I liked the resolving in the end and the sweetness of them all supporting him. I always judge it on will I watch it again, and maybe in a few years I might have it on in the background. But
Mhm.
I don't know if it's one where I'll be like, oh, I
Yeah.
gotta watch that from start to finish. It was so
Right.
sweet. It was
Agreed.
sweet, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
get Nikki in comedies. If you're watching Hallmark, if you're
Please.
listening, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So then we had Navigating Christmas, and this on Hallmark Channel on the 17th starred Chelsea Hobbs and Stephen Huzar. Recently divorced Melanie and her son Jason visit a remote island for Christmas, only to find themselves running a real working lighthouse where she connects with the curt but cute owner. So what did you think overall of this one? I'll have you start first.
Well, okay. Overall, this is on me, I think, because I'm always excited to see an actress move out of a kind of a stereotypical part. She's often played the mean ex-girlfriend or the
9 Lives of Christmas. She was
yes,
that's true.
And then there was another one too, I think. I'd have to go back and look where June and January, where she's trying to like sabotage the wedding of Brooke Dorsey and Wes Brown.
That's true.
So I was like trying to get past, she's not mean. I'm rooting for her, and I'm glad she's got a starring role in this. I also, big props to the Lighthouse. It's also in Sailing into Love. With
Chris McNally.
Yes, Chris McNally. So it was fun to see that again. I love the Pacific Northwest. My dad grew up on Whidbey Island in Washington State, so I was here for all of that. But this just really wasn't my favorite. To quote my Nana, that was not my favorite.
Right.
So,
I really disliked this one. It might be my least favorite of the whole season. Like, it wasn't as outrightly bad as Never Been Christ, but it annoyed me a lot more. Like, at least I could kind of be like, I understand what they're trying to do with that one, whereas this just was like, oh my gosh, they're really going to pretend that somebody's going to tear down the beloved lighthouse and build condos right on the side of the ocean like that, like what?
No.
I mean, as if there isn't like a whole thing of like restoring lighthouses, people living in them, and like if that's totally a thing. And I mean, just it was so stupid and frustrating. And I swear, if I went to my basically an Airbnb is what this is, And they had this list of Christmas chores. I can't even imagine. I would be on the phone that minute being like, I want a refund. I don't care about the fine print. Like I would be on the
there's something to be said for Airbnbs and VRBOs who have a little list in the binder of here's a couple of things you need to do when you check
like take
out.
the trash out or something like that.
Don't trash the place and maybe start a little laundry if you can. If not, we'll be here to do our cleaning. No, it was you're pretty much an employee. You have like all these things
unbelievable. Like that,
or you're going to ruin it for the town.
It was.
You don't fully decorate this whole thing in like 2 seconds. The children will cry.
It was so annoying. I was just like, I can't even imagine. But I mean, it's a ridiculous situation, so of course I can't imagine it. Yeah. But
that should have been on like a jobs board and not Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like come be a lighthouse.
You shouldn't be paying $200 a night, I think is what she said, to do all this work. You should be being paid.
Yes. Because do you remember there was a Lifetime movie called Christmas Around the Corner, where she is like it's your chance to be the bookstore owner manager. That's different than thinking you're going on vacation in a lighthouse.
Right.
And told to do all this stuff.
It was so dumb. I was just it really was a deal breaker for me. I just even if there were cute moments and whatever, just that whole premise was so stupid to me that I just couldn't. And the fact that he would not even really say thank you, like it was just it was so stupid. And I also really didn't like the way that they handled the real, I guess the real dad, for lack of a better word, in this one as well.
Yes,
because
Peter's dad.
Yeah, I mean, he is just terrible.
Yeah,
bailing on his son, and then like later on they make it seem like she's in the wrong for not telling her son about that his dad is having a baby.
Oh yeah, with the girlfriend.
And that's put out as some kind of like, well, you're not honest either. Look what you did. That's not her job.
I'm with her, especially in a divorce. It's super tricky. She has to handle that with such care. Yeah. I was on her side on that one.
Yeah, that's not a lie. That's waiting for your ex to do his job. And then at the end, she's like, your dad and I love you and we'll be there for you. And this baby's not going to change anything. And that's a lie. That is the actual lie.
You're setting him up for a moment like in the World Record movie with, why isn't my real dad here?
I mean, what has he demonstrated in the course of the movie to show that statement was true? Nothing. And so you're just, like you have to, like there are painful truths that sometimes we have to talk to our children about. Yeah. And like you can say, yes, he loves you, but he's having a hard time showing it right now, or he's not doing a good job showing it right now. Or the idea that the baby's not going to change anything is ridiculous. Of course, it's like things are already in a bad spot. And like, you're telling me that him having another child to take care of with his current wife, that's not going to change anything? Come on. I mean, any teenager, this seemed like a pretty like nice kid, a pretty good kid. Any teenager is going to see through that and see that they're being patronized.
Yeah, exactly. He's smart. He's a smart kid. Their relationship between mom and teen, because like I mentioned with my teenagers, some of that did ring true. I'm like, oh, when they just roll their eyes and they just hate you so much, but then the next second they're like, hey mom, what's for dinner? They just they just swing. So handle this one with care, sweet mom, because he needs it. And you're exactly right to tell him those things, and without being able to guarantee them is going to set him up for some personalized feelings like, oh, it must be my fault that dad isn't around. No, it's that sort of. And
also I
go
thought
ahead.
I thought it was totally out of line for her to say that his dad will be disappointed in him for doing the completely reasonable thing of selling the lighthouse with
Oh,
the debts that his
yes.
dad left.
Yes, I
So
missed
the
that part. She said
like
disappointed. Oh, she
yes.
did.
She's like, your dad
Oh,
would be so disappointed in you.
after he
And
confessed that he had this like really hard time with trying to repair that relationship, but his dad died, right? Yeah.
yeah,
But
and
though,
then
wasn't
and
it
she's
like,
like, you used us to fix up the lighthouse, which like okay is like maybe a little bit true, but
yeah,
like then she goes on to say that that you would be a disappointment to your
yeah,
things
don't tell
and
somebody that.
yeah, and then that's when he says you can't be honest with your son about the father having his father having a baby, and of course the son is listening, of
Listening.
course, and he says it's a relic. I can't afford to keep it. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't afford it. Like,
yeah,
and this thing about sometimes these movies that just get me is that it's odd because the bad man of business is obviously like super obsessed with like money and wealth and career, right?
right.
But then really so is most of our leading ladies who are obsessed
Yeah,
with material possessions. Like
yeah.
just because it has all the sentimentality around it of like a house or a shop or a lighthouse in this case doesn't mean it's still just a thing. Like it's not more important than the people. It could
Mm,
be painful and it can be hard, but it's more important that the people are more important than like where you live. And it's just and it was so stupid just with the of course they have Lockman Monroe, who I swear like he must just be in the Rolodex at Hallmark and be like, okay, we need
we
need
need
a
a bad
bad
guy.
guy, and
Here I am.
him and Ben Wilkinson
2 hours
they're
of
like the
work.
two. And
Paycheck.
yeah, I mean, I'll never forget him in Mistletoe Promise. He is like a mega villain in that
Oh,
one.
yes.
He's the worst, her
Yes.
ex-husband.
Yes.
Oh,
So he forgave pretty quickly. He's like, all right, you guys can be partners. Perfect. Bye.
because he only cared about running this travel agency or whatever.
Yes.
But
Even Czar's
but
voice, though. I mean, I feel more fondly looking back over the movie because
yeah.
his voice is so great.
Okay. Well,
And
and then I was also annoyed when he was like, I tried to tell you, but you leaned in and distracted me. I'm like, what? That's not a good reason.
that's true. That
And
was a bit.
there were some nice moments though, now that I got out all the things I really didn't like. But like there were some nice moments, like when he says that there's the battle between cinnamon eggnog or peppermint hot chocolate. I was like, where
Yeah.
do you stand? Which would you pick? Cinnamon eggnog or peppermint hot chocolate?
I don't know. I try not to drink too many calories. I'm always in these movies. I'm like, they are drinking so many drinks.
It's
I
true.
just,
It's a good point.
I'm like,
I would probably go with the hot chocolate. Although I don't
yeah, I
mind
think
eggnog, but
I like eggnog, and
yeah,
I'll take it maybe once a season. Hot chocolate
yeah,
we can have more often.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And then I did think the scene with them dancing was nice. Got kind of
Oh yeah,
cozy. That was fun.
that was cozy. Lots of Christmas feels,
Hmm.
with the decorations and everybody being really sweet and supportive in the town or island or
Hmm. Yeah,
whatever it was.
yeah.
Um,
And then I also thought the kiss was pretty good. So
so
there's like a near kiss,
yes,
and then she starts to head up, and then she's like, "Nope, I'm going back." That was
yes,
fun. That was
that
fun.
kudos to that because usually
Yeah,
you're like, oh, they didn't kiss, but then she's like, oh, and then
yeah,
she leaned in.
yeah, yeah. So that was fun. And there were a couple other like with the reindeer games, with like the
That was a
hoops
fun
and the
montage of games.
limbo and stuff.
Yeah,
That was nice.
yeah.
So
Maybe just
that
reuse that in another movie that I'll watch again.
yeah, exactly. So this one was a miss for me. I'd give it like one crown. I just was
Yeah.
continually annoyed.
I, I know. It was my least favorite of the weekend. I did not watch
Definitely.
Never Been Kissed because I heard your review and I was like, I'll just not take my time. So this one is my least favorite so far. But I'm thinking of it too because of the lighthouse and other Christmassy feels that I enjoyed about it. The things I said before.
Also, this kid is like a whiz at learning Morse code.
Yes.
I mean, he picked it up quick.
Nice. I know. Mysterious Benedict Society kind of level of just, the flashlights.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks over at Baker Bookhouse Publishing and their fun holiday reads. Hallmarkies, if you can't get enough of the Countdown to Christmas movies, we have a treat for you. Get into the holiday spirit with not one, but two enchanting Christmas romance novels. First, immerse yourself in All's Fair in Love and Christmas by Sarah Monzon. An office rivals to more romance about two colleagues who have to use their Christmas spirits to compete for a big promotion. And for more enchantment, dive into You Make It Feel Like Christmas by Toni Shiloh, where a woman must return to her hometown for her sister's wedding to her ex-boyfriend, but she might end up finding a new love that lasts beyond Christmas Day. So grab your hot cocoa, snuggle under a blanket, and let these books sweep you off your feet. Purchase You Make It Feel Like Christmas and All's Fair in Love and Christmas for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's bakerbookhouse.com, or you can use the affiliate link below. Then we have A Merry Scottish Christmas on Hallmark Channel. And this was Lacey Chabert and Scott Wolf, director Dustin Reichert, and writer Andrea Canning, Andrew Gernhard, and Dustin Reichert. When estranged siblings Lindsay and Brad travel to Scotland at Christmas to reunite with their mother Jo, a big family secret is revealed. And I was joking on Twitter and stuff about this movie that Lacey Chabert seems to just love being in movies where she like inherits land, in this case a title, a property, things like that. And here we go again. And overall I thought this was pretty good. It was fun to be in Scotland, and it was fun. As I was texting, I wanted to try to have Michelle on because she's from Scotland, but it just didn't work out. But it was fun to text with her, and she's like, "We don't need that. We hardly ever do that." Sort of.
Oh yeah, fun. I was so curious.
Yeah, but so and like the dancing and the it was had a lot of fun moments, and overall I think the sibling dynamic worked pretty well. The only thing that I just almost didn't even need, you could have cut it out, is the romance. You really didn't need it.
It felt extra.
It did feel extra, and you didn't buy it for a second because
they didn't spend enough time together.
No,
we're really looking at this relationship with her brother and her mother. Yeah, not this one. So in that way, I could either cut it out, or I would say, let's deepen this, make the movie a theatrical release, and add in more depth with that. If you're going to have that, then it needs to be more.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, because you have, I think, enough of a romantic plot with Scott's character, like repairing things with his wife.
Yeah,
that I think that could have been enough, or maybe just like the very, very beginnings of a relationship with her and Mac. Yeah. Like maybe just like a little flirting or something. Yeah. Or maybe we should, like, that would have been cute at I love in one of my favorite Hallmark movies is as far as old classics, is called The Nanny Express. And in that movie, the ending, instead of Brennan Elliott's character telling her that they loves her or something like that, he asks her out on a date. He's like, "Will you go on a date with me?" Oh. And it's super cute and fun and a fun way to end the movie. And that would have been, I think, effective. Be like, "Oh, you're staying? Will you go on a date with me?" Or
yes, like that would have been fine, because they did have some chemistry. Though I will say, the scene with Will Kemp, I was like, "Oh, you're coming out of this room," and I know he's married to the sister, but Will. Yeah,
no, that was a bit of a problem. It was super fun, and I really enjoyed it. And it definitely wasn't lost on me that we have this cameo of the Christmas Waltz the same weekend of the sequel on GAC. Yeah, so that was very sly on the part of Hallmark. Very well done. Very well but done. It did kind of show that, okay, there's it showed the chemistry hole a little bit.
Yeah,
In
because I
the
was like, oh, could we
romance.
just had Will Kemp this whole time for her?
Yeah,
Mac was great, but like when Will showed up, I'm like, oh, he has such presence.
yeah,
That was a fun little great scene. I saw a lot of people talking about that online, like,
yeah. I mean, I think they should have honestly been a little bit harder on their mom, because not
oh,
only did
yes,
they keep all of this as far as position and title and everything, but like they didn't know anything about their culture, about her
yes,
family, about their uncle, about all of this stuff that's
yes,
like way more important than. And I just feel like with like some careful parenting, you could easily just be like, these are the people in my life,
yes,
and this is why all of this other stuff doesn't matter. um but here's the people, and they're good people and everything like that.
yeah.
Or and here's where you came from. I mean, they knew nothing about
Nothing.
like their
And it's
heritage or
yes, and it still could have been a
anything.
good movie with them having had some of that background,
Yeah,
growing up with it, And also, I need to ask this or Google this because at least 100 years ago, if a duke died, immediately you would tell the heir, okay, the duke is
yeah,
dead, long live the duke, kind of thing. And so for him,
yeah.
like after his uncle dies, to now be like, I guess I will be the duke. I don't. Doesn't it work where you're the duke, you're the heir, or maybe not in
Yeah,
2023?
yeah, I don't know like if what exactly happens, if obviously some you can refuse a
Yeah,
title.
true.
Well, I mean, and like with Prince Harry and Meghan, they didn't actually refuse the title. They just stopped being working members of the royal family.
Yeah,
They didn't like actually abdicate. There's nothing to abdicate from. They
they just didn't.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
like six in the line. There's nothing.
yeah,
And but yeah, they still have the title. They're just not active members of the royal family.
yeah.
And
Oh, that's
and
true. And
so
would a dukedom go through? Because here's a little confession: I'm stuck in like 1812. I'm reading
yeah,
all these like Regency
yeah,
authors that are published here, based out of like Deseret Book and Covenant Communications, Shadow Mountain Publishing, that are around
hmm
1812. So that's where
yeah.
my knowledge is. I'm not sure what it is for 2023, but usually it would go through the mail. So if the brother, it wouldn't go to the sister's son, would it have gone to another male, go back up to the next male? But I don't know.
Who
I'm
knows?
way
I'm
overthinking it.
definitely no expert. Uh,
I'm way overthinking it.
yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, she should have told them, and for them to be like learning all of this at once, all of their Scottish heritage at once.
mhm.
Lot.
When there's and like you can, again, we're going back to sort of being honest with kids, that you have to sometimes tell them the rough things in life and be like, I wanted to be the singer, I wanted to marry your father, I wanted to, do these things, and they rejected me. And you have to tell kids
Yeah,
that and be like,
yeah,
just not telling them anything was, I think, a problem. I mean, it's like a fun element in a story to be like, oh, you're a secret princess, like we're gonna
yeah,
tell you, kind of like what they do in Princess Diaries and stuff.
yeah.
But I still think they should have been a little harder on the mom. But
Um,
I mean, they obviously have like super great chemistry, and it was believable that they were, brother and sister. They played brother and sister
totally.
before. They're
I
so
I loved that. I loved that fresh idea of a brother sister because my sister got married a couple of years ago to in England to a man she
mhm,
met online who's English. So now she lives over there. My
yeah,
brothers and I flew over for the wedding and we just ran around everywhere together and it was so much fun because we're all in our 40s now. So we
yeah,
haven't been around each other much. We're busy in our
right,
lives with our children and to be together again as siblings. We called ourselves like the originals because I have a big
yeah,
family and these four were just so close. So I love that part of this movie of seeing a brother and sister reconnecting,
yeah,
remembering, their shared history. They're your family and spending time
mhm,
together. I
yeah.
I
And I
love
do
that.
appreciate too that they both had like genuine reasons for this kind of estrangement
Arrangement.
that they'd
Yeah.
had, whereas
Yeah.
like he was mad at her for leaving her wedding early and for not really, in his eyes, supporting their wedding. But it was the same, and I don't know why he would plan it this way, the same weekend as her graduation from medical
Yeah.
school,
That's
which
rough.
This is
You could
strange.
choose another day.
But yeah.
Yeah. That,
But
yeah, I feel that.
yeah, but sometimes petty things keep us apart
They
in
do, unless you
family
talk
and
about it.
yeah. And I liked in general, I think it was Sarah, his wife, that dynamic I thought was pretty good. I liked them. And by the end they're gonna have a baby and
Yeah.
everything. And
Speaking of epilogues, yeah.
yeah, the epilogue, it was so funny because I'm like, how old is this baby? It was huge.
I know, because I know, and I'm thinking they just needed an actor baby to tell my brain to be okay with her drinking alcohol in the beginning. She was not pregnant then. The baby's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why. I just thought that. I was like,
It was
why was she
funny.
pregnant?
I was
But then,
like, they
there
must
must be
have had the
something.
baby like she got pregnant immediately.
Yeah, January. I mean, they were
Yeah.
having IVF. Maybe there's something in Scotland,
Maybe.
that just was this magic of having a baby, or the Scottish IVF. However, I will say, so when my sister got engaged, there's all tons of visa rules and stuff.
Uh-huh.
She couldn't
Oh,
just
yeah.
stay there in England and be like, no, I'm here. She had to come back to the US to
Oh,
reset.
yeah.
She had to get all this paperwork done.
Yeah.
So behind the scenes, there's all these things
No,
to happen. You
that's
can't
so
just-
true. My
Yeah.
sister, it was a total nightmare.
Yeah.
It took her 3 years
Yeah.
after she got married during COVID in 2020, during COVID. They got married because they thought that was gonna that was gonna help things.
Yeah.
It was just insane, the
Yeah.
number of hoops that she had for
so much
3
paperwork.
years. She had
Yeah.
to come back twice to the States to live here away from her husband. It was
Oh yeah. I know,
was
my sister was living
crazy.
away. It's hard. There's a lot. And I know that doesn't make good cinema to have to explain the paperwork and the visa stuff. But
sure.
just so people know that happily ever after, it took some work.
Right. Yeah. I did absolutely love her dress. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, Lacey always brings the fashion. I think I remember her saying, I don't know if it was at our watch along that we did or whatever, that she brings a lot of her own clothes to these movies, which she has got great taste, of course.
She does.
But I absolutely loved this dress. I thought it looked so good and was just this really cool way of bringing in the Scottish heritage and everything. And she fit her so well. And a lot of times it's like, oh, this dress is just not that great in these movies.
Work with a double take, like,
it was beautiful.
Looks lovely,
Yeah,
you're like,
it was really good. I thought that they had a really good kiss, and after, so Matt gives her crest, and then they kiss, and I said, that's the best. And he says that's the best Christmas I've had in a long time. Oh, sweet. I also liked that they had Cher and Michael Bublé singing Home. That was fun. Song Home.
That was, yeah. It was, yeah.
It added
very nice
a layer.
Touches.
Yeah.
Those details and attention to detail. And yeah.
I also so they have, she's leaving and there's like dramatic goodbye
And
session, and she's struggling, and then she reads the letter, but instead of it being a letter from Mac, it's a letter from her brother, which I thought was nice touch.
So nice. And then she's like, what am I doing? I'm going back.
Yeah. So
I kept thinking, well, you're going to need to fly home and sell your house and pack up your stuff, but just run back.
Yeah, but I've been complaining a lot this year about these plots where they act like living in different places is like an immovable, unpenetrable obstacle. And because I've said this many times, but for so long it was like the girls just expected to give up everything in the city for the hometown hunk in the country, and that was cringe. But then also now this sort of compensation for that of like, oh, there's no hope for us, we live in different places, is like also cringe and frustrating, because it's like, of course you would just move. No one in the world would give up the person they love because you live in different places,
I know.
And so I appreciated that it was like, okay, we'll make it work. It'll be good. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know.
So it was nice. I mean, and if you are literally a Duke and Duchess, like I would think you could probably afford, where were they, in Chicago or New York, wherever?
They were LA and San Francisco.
LA, okay. So she can afford an apartment wherever it is that she's at, I'm sure. Keep a residence in the States. She'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, she's a doctor. She's a doctor. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And it was
Yeah.
so funny at the clinic. They're like, "Oh, I'm so overworked." I'm like, "There's your opening. They need a
Yeah.
doctor."
Yeah, exactly. And then we get the 1 year later with the baby, a huge baby,
Big,
and
big baby.
but it was cute. And so this was fun. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I think I enjoyed it more than the world record. I would probably give it like maybe a 4.
Yeah, I'm at 4.5, maybe because I
Mm,
watched the other two first, which
yeah,
were not my favorite. And then this one was like,
yeah,
this is lovely. Lacey and Scott together, all of it, the feels, the Scottish stuff,
yeah.
which I may or may not be true
All right.
of all the different traditions. I'm like Googling. I'm like, I need to know more about all this. So I'm at 4.5. I would have watched more. If the movie were
Yeah.
longer, I would have been all right with it.
Yeah. Well,
So.
and I should say that so they have black pudding, kippers, smoke, our brothies, porridge, and this they have black pudding, kippers, smoke, arbothrese, porridge, and haggis.
Okay.
I said that to Michelle, and she's just like, she was funny. She was just like, "Oh, it's the elites here."
Oh,
She's like, "Right, we don't eat those on aside from porridge." She's like, "That's breakfast? What is that?" It was
oh,
funny.
that's funny. I had
Yeah.
heard that tradition about baking a Christmas loaf. I had heard that. In fact, I'd read it in
Yeah.
one of my
Mhm.
Regency era books that I adore.
Yeah.
Martha Keyes is the author, and she'd written a great story about that. Or maybe it was Sarah Eden. They both talk
Uh-huh.
about Scotland sometimes, and there's some nice little homage there. So
Yeah.
that check.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
It's funny you mentioned Martha Keyes. We just had her on the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she did a Christmas book.
Yeah,
that,
she did.
That was so cool how you had everybody at once.
It was really fun.
I have been looking forward to all of those books because I've been watching on Instagram. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, this one's coming up, and Kissing for Keeps and Cabin Crush. And so
Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. Yeah.
I kind of geeked out when I saw that you had them all on the pod. So
Yeah.
like, I love them all.
Yeah. You will. They're fun reads. All right. So then we have Holiday Hotline. It's the last one of the weekend, and it's after leaving London. Abby connects with an anonymous caller while working at a cooking hotline. The caller is single dad John, who Abby unknowingly has become smitten with in real life. This director Mark Jean, writers Dwayne Poole and Julie Sherman-Wolfe, and it stars Emily Tennant and Niall Mater. And we should say Dwayne Poole has passed away, and there was a nice tribute to him at the end. And I know Julie Sherman-Wolfe put out a tweet and their social media, saying what a privilege to help make this script happen and work, and his legacy. So absolutely, RIP to that. And so what did you overall think about this movie?
I loved it. My absolute favorite of the weekend.
Yeah.
It's up there with Santa Summit for the season.
Mm-hmm.
I could just tell this was well done with so many details and the way they filmed it and the Peggy and John show.
Yeah.
And just the funny little moments and the dad jokes and the looks and the thinking and the shop around the corner vibes. I loved it.
Yeah. It was really cute. Definitely my favorite of the weekend. I'll give it a strong score. Most of I have little nitpicks.
Yeah.
They're not anything that took away from my overall enjoyment. I would absolutely watch it again. But I have a few little nitpicks that I want to talk about. But yeah, I was so excited for Emily. We had her on the pod. I'm so happy for her to get her first lead. And I know there's been some complaint about the accent I've seen on social media, but I thought it was fine
I thought it
for
was
me.
fine.
I thought it
There's
was
been
fine.
worse.
Yeah.
It was
Oh
fine.
yeah. And I thought she was great. I would hope that they see her and they're like, okay, we want to put her in more stuff because I think she's really cute.
Really, really cute. So lovely, so charming.
Yeah.
She made me cry when they were closing up on her eyes, and I'm like, she's crying. Am I crying?
Yeah.
I'm crying.
And what's interesting about this movie is that a lot of it felt more like a fall harvest movie
It
than
really did.
a
Yeah.
Christmas movie.
They hadn't tried to like squeeze this into like the Christmas week. It was before
Yeah.
Thanksgiving all the way through. So their decorations changed.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, you could tell this one had a lot more effort in and not just one set. They
Yeah.
changed the set. They changed the decorations as we moved through fall, through Thanksgiving and into the holiday, Christmas.
Yeah. Also, it's unusual to have a city girl story. I mean, this, I think it's Chicago. This was, I mean, she moved to the city and, you know, from London. And yeah, that was nice. She lived in an apartment. And usually, I mean, I can't think of the last Hallmark movie. I'm trying to think. Oh, the only one I can think of is that one with Natalie Hall and the bird.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was, but you hardly ever see Hallmark leading ladies live in an apartment.
Yeah. What was the one with Hanukkah a year or so ago when they're in the same?
Oh, you're right.
Where they're writing letters to each
Hanukkah on
other,
the Rye.
Yes, similar thing. I think she was in an apartment, but that's New York City.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's pretty rare that you have that. It's funny to me when people struggle so much with a turkey, because to me it's like the easiest thing to make of the Thanksgiving. Like, thing about Thanksgiving is that most of the stuff is pretty easy to make. It's just coordinating so much of it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Is what makes it hard.
Yeah.
And so I would much more need a pie hotline than a turkey hotline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I am terrible at making pastry.
Pies are tricky.
I just can't. Or rolls.
Rolls are tricky.
Yeah. Very hard.
If you've got like someone who's shown you for years, like my mother-in-law, I've been married 20 years now, and every time she makes rolls, I'm right there with her. Okay, show me again. Oh my God. So I did a story. I'm a journalist, and years ago I actually did interview a Butterball hotline turkey.
Oh, really?
They as an interview for a fun story around Thanksgiving. And so I believe that all of those examples in this movie are probably real world examples because of the things this lady told me. You would not believe the things people do or call about or try who've never cooked before, or just the mistakes they're making or the questions they have about
it's interesting.
What to do with the turkey and how to, some of them I'm like, this might be Julie Sherman Wolf and her amazing sense of humor with the, I don't have twine. Can I just use some ribbon? Those kinds of things. There were some definite, it seemed like Julie moments of like, that was really funny at the begetting when the turkey is in with all the toys. What are you doing with my turkey? And like stuff like that. He's like strapping it on the roof of the car. Really okay to thaw out as I drive. Oh my word. She's like, what state is your turkey in? Florida.
Really, I mean, I guess the hardest part about the turkey is knowing when to take it out.
Yes.
And maybe people, should I brine it? Should I whatever?
Yeah.
But other than that, you just stick it in the oven. That's it.
Well, and my mom always used a turkey bag, and it just came out perfectly every time. Yeah. You put it in a turkey bag, tons of seasoning, tons of butter, let it do its thing. Whereas my mother-in-law will baste it and you just got to make sure you're cooking it for the right amount of time so you don't make everybody sick. And that's it, right?
This year, my family my parents are going to visit the grandkids, and so I'm actually going over to a friend's house. And it was funny. One year, I was at a friend's house and they didn't have any cranberry sauce, and I was like, "What? No cranberry sauce?" I'm trying not to be rude or anything, but I was really surprised. No cranberry sauce. So I made sure to ask my friend. I'm like, "Should I bring a can?"
Just to have that little taste. Yeah, I know there are some things that it just doesn't feel like it without. So
yeah. And we've never done the macaroni and cheese. That I know a lot of people do mac and cheese. We never have done that.
No, we never did either. Yeah. Mashed potatoes and homemade gravy with the drippings.
Yeah.
My mom does an oyster stuffing inside the bird, which people I know get grossed out, but I love it. And then also like the side, dressing, stuffing.
Well, part of the thing with my family that I say that we should just go to a place, like go to Chuckarama or whatever,
Yes.
because it is kind of a nightmare now when my family is all together, because my mom's gluten-free and two of my siblings are vegan. So you have to have like
lots of sides.
There's like
options.
Yeah, you've got to have like 4 different kinds of stuffing and all this, you got to have the vegan meals. And of course, and I was just like, why don't we just go a place? Everybody can pick out whatever they want.
And then you're not cleaning up after. I'm with that. That
you're not
sounds
cleaning
a
up
lot
after.
easier. Having to make
I did
special
Chuckarama
things.
once. It was great.
My in-laws, we actually did a Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. We're on Sunday this week.
Yeah.
Because some of the other siblings have to go to the other side of their other. But then the one sister-in-law was like, I'm just going to Chuckarama with my family on Thursday. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, because I feel like the Thanksgiving stuff is all pretty basic. I mean, turkey's turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce. Like they're not stuff that has like a super distinct, this is like the way my mom makes it kind of a thing. Yeah. At least to me. So anyway, but everybody scoffs at that idea. But I think it has value. So if you're out there going to Chuckarama for Thanksgiving, I support you.
More power to you. I
support you.
And then and if you want to lay out all the china and do the whole thing, that's great too. Chuckarama does sound sometimes so much easier.
Yeah.
But then there's other just love the tradition and it's connected to family. And in this movie, I think for Jack/John, the cooking really was wanting to be a family thing and memories, traditions with his daughter, because it was so important to her. It was interesting sweet. How important it was to her to have this turkey in their home. But you got to set up the plot somehow, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I think that they did a good job of making like authentic interactions between both Abby and Jack and Peggy and Jack, and building that up well enough. So a lot of people compare this to Shop Around the Corner, and there are certainly similarities between the whole perfumery story, whether it's You've Got Mail, Shop Around the Corner, all these different ones. And I love that story so much. But I actually kept thinking of the musical Broadway musical / there's a movie of it called Bells Are Ringing.
Oh,
and
I haven't seen that.
And it's about this. It'd be interesting to know if Dwayne Poole was influenced by it at all. Maybe not, probably not. But it's about this woman who is a answering service person and receiver or whatever. And this is in the I think it was actually 1960, if I'm not mistaken. So and she starts getting really involved in her customers as she keeps their messages. And there's one out of work Broadway composer that she gets super, super invested in, kind of falls in love with, and she's pretending to be mom and an old lady. But then they meet in other way they meet because she forces her way over to his house. It's ridiculous, but it's really cute. And so if people really liked this, I highly recommend checking out Bells Are Ringing. It's really fun. The movie has Judy Holliday in it, and she played Bella on the lead on Broadway for years and years. So and I don't know if you ever heard the song "The Party's Over."
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That's from the Bells Are Ringing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, my theater reviewer. You're helping me. But I'm gonna put that on my list right now, actually.
Yeah. But this the only part of this movie that I just wish that they had done differently is I wish they had done the ending differently. Because I think in real life, if you found out that this was the same person, you would be like, oh, that's funny. Yes. I can't believe that. And you laugh and you'd be like, oh, okay. You wouldn't be like, oh,
you wouldn't burn the whole thing down and stomp away. You'd be like, whoa.
I mean, and if you think about if you think about the perfumery as the stories, the Shop Around the Corner, You've Got Mail, both of those movies, they're relieved. Yes. Kathleen Kelly says, I wanted it to be you so badly.
You think about Message in a Bottle with Andrew Walker. It's almost like, it was you,
Yeah.
This is perfect because my conflicting feelings here this is great. It's you instead of like, I'm so mad at you. You could have some maybe some confusion or some embarrassment or something like that, and you're trying to work through that emotion. And maybe because he's a man, his emotions come out as anger, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Forget it, I'm out," and he like fight or flight,
Yeah.
and he
That
flees.
is
But
true
he
because
would have been like,
usually in these stories, usually the guy's the one that finds out first
"That's true." It
about
almost
it.
always is, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
in Bells Are Ringing, when he finds out that because he puts all the pieces together, and he's like, "Oh, it's the Suzanne phone lady, Mom," and you see it like light up. Oh my gosh! And there's great ending, and he's like, "Bella, Nella, Ma, whatever your name is, I love you." And,
Oh,
it doesn't even
cute.
matter to him. He doesn't care.
He just,
He just
yeah,
knows that he loves her, and
that could have happened here. He'd be like, "Oh, it's you. That's perfect."
yeah, there's just like the person that I'm in love. Like it would have been so kind of nice, even if you do have him get a little bit huffy. Like maybe the next scene,
Yeah.
have him be like,
Resolve it
"It
faster.
doesn't matter whether it's
Yeah.
Peggy or Abby. I fell in love with the same person."
Yeah.
That would have been so romantic.
Oh,
if
it
he
would have
had said
been. And
that.
that's why I like that they both leave at the end to find each other. It could have happened sooner. He could have been like,
Mhm.
"Wait a minute, I'm turning around. I'm figuring it out. It's you."
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's true. They both are heading towards each other
That was
at
sweet.
the end. But I just and then she's like, "Whoa, it was Peggy? Peggy was his backup,
Oh,
kind of a
yes.
thing."
And her boss is
Uh,
like, "You're jealous of you."
yourself, yeah.
So
So
let me get
I
this
just think
straight.
it would have been like a little bit better if they had nailed that ending, and if he hadn't had this like, "Oh, you lied to me,"
Big
and
fit. Yeah,
I
that was a
didn't
little.
love that. And so but I also I I about died. We cannot talk about this movie without talking about the Daisy product placement. Was absolutely hilarious. I died.
The close up puts it on the table. I was like, "Oh, come on."
I don't think you should be putting cottage cheese in your cheesecake, but nevertheless, he's like, it's the secret ingredient, and literally like the
No.
glamour shot of the cottage cheese.
You
It
can
made me
do
laugh
product
so
placement much
hard.
more subtly. That was frustrating. That was like, in fact, this is twice
So
I brought up
funny.
Christmas Around the Corner. They did that with the dog treat brand. That's why I use. It was almost like and then back to your programming. That felt like that with here. That's why
So
I use.
there was a movie on Up TV called The Country Hearts and Country Hearts
Mm,
Christmas.
mm.
And in there was just the most funny Zillow ad that there's like, "Oh, you're looking for a place? Here, you should check out Zillow. It gives you all these ways to like filter and find the perfect home for you." And they show the app, and they're like,
Oh, that's too much. That's a little.
I liked the movie, but it made me die laughing.
Yeah,
And
that was just tweak that a little bit, nail the ending,
yeah.
and then boom, this movie is perfect.
The thing that gets me about those kinds of things is how can they possibly be effective? Like, does anybody watch them and be like, "Oh, I gotta try"? I guess somebody might be like, "Cottage cheese
Hmm.
and cheesecake. Maybe I will try that. Maybe." But like, I think most people are like, I just can't imagine anybody be like, "I gotta add that to my shopping list," or whatever. Like,
I
make
don't
sure it's
know.
Daisy.
I know. Are they like doing an online order right now? No, only Daisy will do.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess they're hoping for some kind of like a more subliminal kind of a
Yeah,
thing. Like
maybe.
they used to tell us when I was getting my MBA, the marketing classes, that about there was this whole study that they did where they would show people a movie, and they would have just the faint, bubble sound of soda pop, pop, pop,
Oh,
like just that little
yeah,
ting,
like
ting, ting, ting sound.
yeah.
And it but just barely in the background, just this subliminal kind of a thing. And they did these comparisons of just like how many more sodas people bought because they just had that thing.
Oh,
Maybe that's what they're hoping for,
yeah,
but
yeah,
still, I always think they must be effective because they keep doing it.
yeah. I guess so. I don't know. Paying for the lights? I'm not sure. I don't know. I
But
don't.
I did think it was pretty much all the time spent on the calls I thought the way they staged it. Mark
Yes.
Jean, you can tell he was a pro, the directing. was very effective. I thought that they did have good chemistry, and I was a little bit concerned because he is quite a bit older than Emily, but
Yeah.
I didn't feel that. I felt like they had nice
Yeah.
chemistry.
I know, I didn't notice either until I thought later. I'm like, oh wait, how old is he? But
Yeah.
he was playing younger, I guess, too. He's so energetic and funny.
Mm-hmm.
Always liked him as an
Yeah.
actor. I got Pillow Talk vibes sometimes
Yeah.
from their
Yep.
staging, but then I'm like, they're in the same room together. That took a lot of planning and plotting and storyboarding, and kudos.
Mhm.
It was very nice, very well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and just like the banter between, like, with fixing the, the whole thing with the doorknob,
Oh yeah.
and he's like as close to like a good man of business as you're gonna get, because
Yeah.
he is kind of the developer. So I was like, oh,
But they didn't
but
push that too
he's
hard,
like,
which I was glad.
but he like believes in historical integrity and doesn't want to tear down the building. So like he's a good one. He's a good one. It's very rare. Very rare.
His brother was always so much more dressed up than he was. His brother wanted to be like the man of business. He's always in a suit and tie.
Yeah. And so yeah, all that was fun. It was a cute movie. I enjoyed it. So I think give it a 4, maybe even a 4.25. I'd definitely watch it again. I enjoyed it. It was sweet. Everything with him and the daughter that worked. It was a fun one.
Yeah. I think I might go to 5. I mean, I was at 4.75, but it's so sweet. It's just it's fresh on my mind. I did finish it this morning, but I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah. And what's crazy too is Emily told me that they literally just finished it in October. Like,
really?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Talk about turnaround. They're
unbelievable.
They probably didn't. You know what? Whenever you turn in and finally finish a huge project, I bet when that movie aired, they probably all went out for ice cream. Like, let's just eat our feelings. I'm so relieved. It's done.
They're amazing. And
They're amazing.
How fast they make these movies is just unbelievable.
That's
unbelievable.
Fast. Especially with this one that wasn't as easy, because some with editing, if you only have a couple of sets, you can probably just kind of edit that, smash it together. But this one, it's a lot more to it,
Yeah.
Good job.
The other thing, this like extreme nitpick, but when she manages in this movie to get cabs like
so fast. Like, I need a cab.
Taxi. Oh, there it is.
And then she's hugging Margaret and he's putting her luggage in. I mean, it's like,
taxi.
Man, Chicago's cabbies, or she's just got this magical power.
Right.
She like secretly bewitched. She's just like, boop.
Okay. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it was really funny.
But
and I love that she had 2 living parents.
That's true. That was good.
And Margaret was just a sweet character. Her boss was so nice. He wasn't a mean boss at all. I kept waiting for it to turn, and he was just nice.
Well, except for that he stole her Yorkshire pudding recipe.
Oh no, not that boss. The
hotline.
Oh
boss.
no, that
he was nice. Yeah,
bad. Yeah, he was bad. Her turkey hotline boss who would listen in. She's like, "Were you listening in on my conversations?" He's like, "Absolutely."
Yeah. Well, and it was funny to me that I'm like, what can you do with Yorkshire pudding? It made me kind of want to look up to see, because Yorkshire pudding is basically just a popover.
It really is. Yeah.
People think it's not like what we think of as puddings.
Yeah, it's a popover. And I think you can go sweet or savory with it. I want to say.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of times they put like the drippings in the cup and then put the filling, and then
and it's hot drippings in it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Much better than the Scottish. This was a much better food movie than the Scottish movie.
For sure. Yeah, some subliminal stuff. I actually was like, I'm kind of hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there we go. That is this movie. Let us know if you're listening what you think of all 4. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Mary, where can people find you?
So I'm at _Mary Richards on Twitter, Mary Richards Reports on Instagram, and look for Reporter Mary Richards on Facebook.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure that you are following the podcast on Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. If you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews, especially during this time of the year. It really helps us a lot. get those 5-star reviews. And then also, if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube aren't subscribers. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And we also have our patron group, which is a ton of fun. Great chance to be part of watch-alongs and other events. We have director Lee Friedlander coming for this week. We have Lee Friedlander coming this month on the 28th. We are going to be watching Royal Queen's Christmas with her and getting all the behind-the-scenes details of that movie. So that will definitely be super fun, and lots of other great perks for being a patron. So please check it out. And then we also have our merch store. We can get Black Friday deals right now. There's some really good prices, and you can get designs and gifts for all of the Hardys and Hallmarkies, Postables, everybody else in your life. We kind of took a Barbie inspiration in this year's designs. I had fun with it. I'm a Hallmark girl. I'm a theater girl, things like that. So check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, and it'll be a good place to get some gifts for the people in your life, and some holiday gear. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Merry Christmas.
Bye.